Welcome to day one of Advent of Code of 2023. Finally, we have Advent of Code 2023. I'm actually recording this on the 13th of December, so it's not really day one, but I'm going to be walking through my solution to day one using Python. For those who don't know, Advent of Code is a event that's held every year, and day 1 through 25 of December, a new puzzle, or two new puzzles, are added to the event and calendar. And you have to solve the first part of the problem to get a star, and then you solve a second part of the problem to get a second star. So every day you can achieve up to 2 stars per problem, and the aim is to then have 50 stars by December the 25th, as noted up here. There's always a nice little story that goes with Advent of Code. I'm not going to read through all of the story, but previous years have been really fun, and it's always good to go back over the previous year's days and have a look at the story and how that unfolds. But yeah, there's always some kind of elves, and this year's camels. For one of the days, there's been elephants and submarines and reindeer and stuff in previous years, and you're just going on a travel to help Santa, really. So let's dive into the problem. So with this particular one, the first part of this, I've actually solved both parts already, as I've alluded to. So you get an individual input, which we'll come on to in a minute, and you get these test inputs. So for this first part of this problem, we have this test input here. So I'll just read through the first part of this problem. So we're making some adjustments to a trebuchet, and the elf who done the calibration document, created the calibration document, she just wanted to show off her art skills, which was quite nice of her. So they're having a hard time and some trouble reading the values of the document. The newly improved calibration document consists of lines of text. Each of the lines originally contained a specific calibration value that the elves now need to recover. On each line, the calibration value can be found by combining the first digit and the last digit in that order to form a single 2-digit number. So with this particular example, the first line has a 1 at the beginning and it has a 2 at the very end. There are only 2 numbers in there, which is really great. So we combine those together to make 12. In this second line, we have a 3 and then we have an 8. So we combine that to be 38. We have a 1 here. We skip the rest of these until we get to this last 5, and then finally we have the last line, which only has 1 number, so we use that 1 twice. So then we add all of those up and we get to a number of 142. So I'm going to take this test input, and I'm going to create a variable for exactly that, and let's make a function called solve, which is going to take the string, let's call it that because it is. Keep getting errors with Teresa at the moment for Python, so please do ignore all the red text that comes up at the bottom. Anyway, so we're going to have that return a integer, and what we are going to need is a total, so let's just add that now. And what we want to do is go over each of the lines, get all the digits from it, and then take the first and the last, combine that into a single number, and then add that to the total, to the running total. So here we go then. So for line in, what are we doing? String dot split lines. Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to take the number parts. Let's just call it num parts is equal to a list, and what we can do here is actually do C for C in line if C dot is digit, and that will give us all of the parts. And then what we can do is we could just do total plus equals, we want to convert the parts, the first one and the last one, num parts. -1, and then finally we just return the total. So let's see if that works. So if we just firstly print solve using the test input, we get 142, and as we can see here, 142 is exactly what we should have got. So now the idea is that we've tried the test input, and we now need to run it over our full input. And just so you can see what the full input's like if you've never seen them before, it is the test input on steroids. There is tons and tons of rows, and yeah, so they're all going to have some different edge cases and so on across the different problems. So yeah, you then run it on your individual input. So what we're going to do here then is we're just going to do with open, we want to do input text as file, and then we want to print solve file dot read. Cool, so we get 54630, which as we can see up here is the actual solution to my inputs, to the problem of my inputs. So great, we've got that on the first go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the second part. So normally you only see the first part until you unlock the correct answer, and then you get the second part of the problem here. So of course the calculation isn't quite right. It looks like some of the digits are actually spelled out with letters. Fun times. So we have now 1 to 9 also count as valid digits. Now, it doesn't explicitly say that 0 is not counted as a digit, so I'm going to make an assumption that there are no zeros within my data. I don't know if there is or are not. I haven't actually looked, but I'm going to make an assumption that there are no zeros and there are only 1 through 9, and that's going to help us as we add this next part in. So let's now look at part 2. So I'm going to grab this test input again, make another input equals this, and then we're going to do def solve, which is going to take a string of type string, and that is going to return a integer again. Let's do total equals 0, and let's just return the total to start with, and then let's just set this up straight away, exactly the same way as I just set it up in the last one. So print solve with the input, the test input, and then we're also going to, in fact, let's do print test, like this, and then let's do in there, and let's do actual. So then we'll grab that and pop that in there. Cool, and then let's just do with open the text file again as file. We then want to run this using the file.read. So that's going to just read all of the entire file in a single go, because we're going to put the split within the solve. So now if I just run this Python part 2, we now get test and actual. Obviously it's just returning total for now, which is set to 0. So let's now solve this one. So if we do for line in string dot split lines again, we can then do a iteration over the line, shrinking it down each time. So to start with, we're going to start with the entire line. Then we're going to take off the first character, and then we're going to do the same stuff, but just with from the second character to the end, or the first index to the end. Then we're going to keep doing that until we get to the very end and we got nothing left. The reason we're going to do that is because what we're trying to do now is look for any numbers that are spelled out within this text. So if we take this one, for example, we have X, TWO, and then we also have a 1, and then we have a 4 on the end. Now the O is part of the 2 and it's part of the 1. So we need to account for both. 2 being the first one that's triggered, and then which will be the first one that's picked up, and then a 4 is going to be the one on the end. So here we should have a 24, which is that there. So that's the problem that we have. So what we're going to do is we are going to do let's grab the index in range len of line. We're going to do s is equal to line from the index to the end. So to start with, the index is going to be 0, so we are getting the entire string. And then what we can do is check, firstly, do we have a digit? And we'll do the same check that we did before using isDigit. We're just going to do that on the first character of this new string. We do now, though, want a list of nums for this particular line. So So let's do nums is equal to a list. And so then if we also have a words is equal to, and this is just going to take a minute to do. In fact, if I just grab now all the rest of those, pop those in here, and then let's just wrap those in strings. Doesn't need to be pretty. I know I could absolutely do some, I don't know, Vim macros or whatever for this, but do you know what? You can hear me and see me waste time like that. So we have 0 through 9. So the reason I've added 0 in here is because where we're using 0 index, if we wanted to enumerate over this, if we were to have 1 at the beginning and leave off 0, if 1 matches, we can't say that it's equal to the index of it. We'd have to add 1 to the index. So if we're adding 0 on the beginning here, 0 is the 0th index, 1 is the first index, and so we can carry on doing it that way. Excellent. Right, so we then have if s first character dot is digit. Then what we want to do is nums dot append s0. Cool. So that gives us the same as what we had before. Previously we've done it in a list comprehension. This time because we're iterating over the thing, rather than do it multiple times, we just do it once. So now we do for the, let's say, the n and the word in words, enumerate words. If s dot starts with the word, we are then going to nums dot append, and we are going to append the string of the number. So instead of it being a actual integer of 1, we're going to have the number 1 in a string. The reason we need to do that is because we're actually combining these together, 2 and a 9, to form 29, for example. So then what we do after we've done all of that is we do total plus equals the integer value of the nums 0 and nums -1. So this gives us the first and the last index in there, and then we just return the total. So hopefully this gives us what we want. So we get 281 and 54770. So here we have 281, which is the test input there, and then we have 54770, which is the original input that I got using my individual input. So I know that that's accurate because I got it correct. So thanks for watching this through and hearing my very boring monotone British voice talk through this AOC problem. If you want to see more, which I hope you do, but yeah, if you want to see more, like the video, I don't know, yeah, do all that YouTube stuff. So cool, yeah. I'll carry on making more of these. I'm going to probably go through all of the problems I've solved so far, which currently we're on day 13, which I've done. So I'll probably go through all of the problems that I'm able to get through in Python, TypeScript, and Go. I'm doing those 3 languages: Python to just solve the problem because it's what I use in my day job all the time, TypeScript because it's just a different way of solving the problems. You got the array methods like sorting and filtering, reducing, mapping, all of that kind of stuff. It's just a different way of approaching the same problem that I just want to kind of try those things out with it. And then Go, because I recently have been learning Go and I really like it and I want to use it more and get more comfortable with the language. So that's what I'm using Advent of Code for this year, is to actually learn more Go. So yeah, I'm going to carry on making these, probably go back over previous years as well at some point. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye!